All right, guys, we're going to run through the 7.4 and 7.5 CFA, going through the answers and doing a little reteaching here. So again, make sure you're writing these down and listen to the reteaching. You'll have a study guide here for your test when the test comes up. Okay, and the first question here, we're going to be using this nutritional information for these peaches to compare the sugar and sodium content. And we have to support our comparisons with unit rates. So we've got to get it down to, in this case, it's peaches and syrup. We've got 3 ounces, and peaches and natural juice, we've got 8 ounces. So the unit rate, remember, is to get it down to 1 ounce. How much sugar is in 1 ounce for each of those? And then we can tell which one has more sugar content. Okay? All right, so the first one here, scroll up here. We're looking at which serving of peaches has a higher concentration of sugar. And we have to use those unit rates to explain and justify. So which one has a higher concentration of sugar? So I'm going to do a little labeling here. I'm going to call this peaches and syrup. PS, and then we'll go P and J here, peaches and natural juice, just to be organized and to be able to justify some things. All right, so in our first one, we know the syrup comes in 3 ounce sizes, so we've got 3 ounces. We'll do our little ratio here. 3 ounces, and in sugar, that's 15 grams in every 3 ounces. Okay, 15 grams. So to get that down to a unit rate, I'd get that down to 1 ounce, so I know to divide that by 3 gets it down to 1 ounce. So I must divide this by 3 to keep the relationship the same, and we get 5 grams. So in this case, for peaches and syrup, we're going to have 5 grams of sugar for every 1 ounce, 5 grams. So this one, if it's a natural juice, you're probably knowing that the syrup's more sugary. You're probably knowing, maybe if you have some background knowledge, this is probably going to be less anyway because it's natural and it doesn't have sugars and things added to it. So in this case, let's prove it here. We've got 8 ounce here, so we got a bigger serving, and there are 16 grams of sugar. So some people would say, oh, that's more sugar because 16 is more than 15 here. But remember, there's a lot more liquid here, a lot more ounces and peaches in here. So in this case, to get it down to 1 ounce, so we can compare it, divide by 8 on both sides. If I divide by 8 here, 1 ounce here only has 2 grams of sugar. So in this case, which one has more sugar, which one has the higher concentration? I'm just going to put PS for peaches and syrup here. And you can write it all out if you want to here, but you can easily see that for every ounce, there's 3 more grams, 5 instead of 2. So a lot more sugary, not as good for you if the peaches are in that syrup. Okay? So again, pause your video if you need to. Make sure you get this stuff written. And I'll get this erased. We'll look at the next one. All right, so the next question here, we're looking at which serving of peaches has a higher concentration of sodium now. We're looking at the salt, the sodium. And again, I have to use unit rates. All right, so I'm not going to pull that table back up here, but I'll write up. And again, you have that right there on your sheet you can look at. For the peaches and syrup, okay, again, we have 3 ounces of the size of the serving. And in this case, 3 ounces, they have 9 milligrams of sodium in them. And the peaches and natural juice, again, we still have 8 ounce servings. And in this case, if you look back up there, there were 14 milligrams of sodium for every 8 ounces there. So again, same thinking here. Get it down to unit rate. I divide by 3 here. That gets me down to 1 ounce. So I divide by 3 here, and I get 3 milligrams. So every 1 ounce, there's 3 milligrams of sodium. And a natural juice, if I get this by dividing by 8, I get it down to 1 ounce. Divide by 8 here. And if you divide by 8, you'll get 1.75 if you do the work. So 1.75 milligrams of sodium. So which one has a higher concentration of sodium in this case? And in this case, again, it would be peaches in the syrup. And I'll put PS again. Peaches and syrup has a higher one because it has 3 milligrams for every 1 ounce. And this only has 1.75 milligrams per ounce. So a little bit more sodium in the peaches and syrup as well. Okay. So again, make sure you get these written down here. And flip it over to the back side. And we'll focus a little bit again on the CFA from the lessons dealing with the spreadsheets. And I'm going to make this a little smaller here so we can see it all. All right, so I've got my spreadsheet here. We're looking at, we've got an item name and we've got prices and the quantity and then the total cost here. So they've kind of got this set up to take this times this to get the total cost for pencils. All right, and that would be what they had programmed here. So we're going to deal a little bit with programming it. Here, I think we can see all that now. So using cell names, what formula should you enter in cell D8? So here's D8 is down here. Kind of tough to see. I'll scroll down. This is D here. Okay, so D8 would be right down here. So now that we know that's D, I'll move it up where I've got a little more room here. Okay, D8 is right here. Okay, highlight there for you. So what do I have to program to get the subtotal? What all of these things costs? So we'll need to put an equal sign, remember, when we click in there to tell it to do a formula. And we're just going to add up all of our total costs here. So I could say this thing, I want it to equal D3 plus D4 plus D5 plus D6. D3, D4, D5, D6. If I tell it to do that, it'll add it all up for me. And there's my subtotal, $10.57. And in question B, it talks about which cell contains the total cost for supplies. So you'd have to include tax in here. So just knowing the name of the cell, we know we're in column D here. So this would be D10, would be the name of that cell, D10. Okay? And it would be programmed, obviously, to add this plus this to get you the total cost after you add tax in. So there are the things from lesson 7.4 and 7.5 that we're responsible for, knowing how to do. So make sure you get these copied down so you have a study guide for the test.